Welcome to another episode of the Master Your Money podcast. We are excited for our guest today, Miss Kate Connelly. She is the founder and CEO of Together Old City. We put together a post a couple weeks back saying we need to have more ladies on the podcast, and there was about 6 different people that reached out to us requesting to get Kate on. So Kate, welcome to the show. We are very excited to have you today.
Hi, I'm excited too, and I better live up to those 6 people who said my name.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you will. So for anyone who doesn't know you, why don't you give a little bit of background about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Kate. We're currently in my studio for those who are watching versus listening, and we're in Old City, Philadelphia. I opened this studio, which I know we're going to get to the bottom of, in 2021 during this pandemic. So there's a lot of good nuggets in there. But the 2-minute elevator pitch about myself is I grew up just outside the city. I went to an all-girls school, Springside, in Chestnut Hill my whole life. I graduated from Springside in 2010, and I played Division I field hockey at Holy Cross. Immediately following Holy Cross, I kind of went through the worst possible case scenario that any collegiate athlete can go through, and it was losing a parent my freshman year. And as a result, after my mom passed, fitness became this thing that saved me. And it's so funny to look at myself now versus myself my freshman year when you're so stressed out and you're coming in for your fitness test. I'm like 2 completely different athletes now. And when I graduated, I had always been into yoga, and it was something that was given to me as like a grief tactic. And I just loved it. It was obviously falling into fitness after going through the education I went to was not really like what my dad had always thought, but it quickly picked up, and I kind of found myself deep in the Philadelphia fitness scene, where I was at Flywheel for many years. I was the master instructor at a Pilates reformer studio called SLT. I kind of taught yoga all over the city. I taught at some other big names in Philadelphia. And with the pandemic, I had started my own philosophy and ideology of a workout, and COVID kind of forced my hand and opened this.
That's awesome.
So that was a lot.
That was a lot, but that was great. So, at what point, while you're obviously you're being an instructor at all these different places, at what point did the idea start to click in your head as maybe I should start doing my own thing? Like when did this idea start to come about? Because obviously, during COVID, I don't think anyone had aspirations of being able to open up a place, given that, that seemed like impossible at the time.
We were just trying to hang on with everybody else.
Totally. It's, that's a great question. And I had started this kind of ideology of my own method, which I'll give you the 2-minute of that. It's that our classes here at Together, everything is 45 minutes. We have one 60-minute class, but we train a single side of the body at a time. So we work unilaterally, meaning that you'll spend 20 minutes doing an entire routine on one side of the body. Our specialty is mat Pilates, which is low impact resistance training. And from that, you'll complete the entire same cycle on the other side of your body without deviation. Reason being, I started to come up with this idea because I saw that people hated the guessing game of a workout class. You show up in somebody's studio and you're like, okay, we did that set. Okay, we did that set. Okay, to the point where the anxiety of what's coming next kept people from being able to be 100% present in a workout. So Together's method is hey, here it is. You just did it on this side. Now we can calm down, do the whole thing again on the other side. The science behind that in the Pilates mindset is that we're pushing muscles to fatigue and failure. So while you might be at the gym and compound your bicep curls with your squats, we're we want to stay in the hamstring until you're help, somebody help me. So our stacking and what I've designed as what we call anatomy blocking is designed to get to the point where after a 5-minute interval, you have to stop obliques because you need to move on. Okay. But that kind of idea, I just started working on it in 2018, and it's so weird how sometimes timing is everything. I remember one of my clients took my father and I around to visit some properties in Philadelphia, and she was like, don't sign anything. This is crazy. The market, I don't like where all this is. She was my angel, because thank God I didn't sign anything, because little under a year, this was probably 2019, COVID happened. And had I had signed a big, contract and lease in Center City, Philadelphia prior to that, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Yeah. I want to go back to one thing you said real quick, because I was very interested how, you kind of designed your own there's 1,000 fitness philosophies out there, right? Everyone's got a
Yeah.
different thing. Given that you're in the space, have you seen other people try to mimic what you're doing since you've started it a few years ago? Have you seen like other little shops or pop-up places that are trying to do the same thing as you're doing?
I think it was something I dealt with during COVID when everybody was, as you said, trying to hang on.
Yeah.
And I had to let my ego go and be like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. This person is going to copy the same thing as you. Like, my husband coached me through it to be like, don't look at it. Why do you care? Now what's interesting is like, if you look at the fitness landscape, we're living in this, like, Pilates is the buzzword, right? So for me, somebody who has been working on this since 2017 and working in the Pilates industry, it's funny for me that now it's like everybody's a Pilates teacher overnight. So that's always like, okay. And the biggest thing for me is that the proof is in our product. So I'm never really bothered. For me, I always take calls. I always try to help other studios. I've met with plenty of people to help them with their live stream because I'm so confident in my product that I'm just not bothered.
Yeah. That's great. And it's got to be cool too to also see like, hey, you know, you're doing something right if people want to copy you.
Yeah, and I truly think like I don't gatekeep. Like if you can do what I'm doing better, try. Like, and it will only help me be like, fuck, oh, they did it. Okay, I'll beat you next.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And what does that product look like that you have now? You mentioned live streaming, you mentioned your studio. What does that ratio look like for you guys?
Yeah, so I don't know if I made it clear, but when I started the business, obviously it was all online. My first ever Zoom class was March 17th, 2020, which is wild because everybody has their kind of memories of those early weeks when it was, you know, layoffs, what's happening, where are we going? And for me, I specifically remember a Saturday in Philadelphia when I used to teach 3 classes. I would teach a class at this cycling studio. I would teach a class at this Pilates studio, all of which were waitlisted, the most popular classes in the city. And one by one, I'm getting texts from people being like, can you take me out of class? And the one thing I think that's built me success from that day is I always say yes. The client is always right. I don't care if it's illegal. I would go into the system and be like, sure, here you go. So I remember that. And then the phone calls came from all of these franchises I was working for where I was just like, let go of and let go. And a couple friends who have still been like ride or die clients were like, you need to get on Zoom and you need to start teaching right away. And I remember turning to my husband, who we weren't even married. And I was like, what is Zoom? And he's like, oh, I use it. I'll show you how to use it. And I got a Zoom account. And my first ever class was that like 17th of March. And I just kept that going until we were able to open a brick and mortar studio. But as a result, I've never let go of the stream. So I have clients right now that are members of our studio that live in California, Boston, DC, Calgary, East, West Coast, upside down, inside out, because people have moved and changed, but I've consistently kept my same live stream and recordings for those people. So the product right now is an in-studio class experience. We offer 22 classes a week to anyone who lives or close to the Philadelphia area. And then we live stream 2 classes a week, as well as have an on-demand library that we update and curate regularly. Yeah,
I was looking at the website earlier. The library of like all of the different videos, that's really impressive. That's something I've never seen from a fitness studio. So that was definitely something when I was like thinking, I was like, oh, what makes them different? Like that was something that I've never seen that you're just giving out there. Like, hey, you want to watch this stuff? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny because in the stages of your business, you can't wait to let go of something to make space for something else. And I had originally thought, this dream of, I've been doing this for 11 years, the dream of like owning my own studio. I couldn't wait to open it and get the fuck off Zoom. Mm-hmm. But I quickly realized that was just not it. It's such a great stream of passive income for us that all I do is record what I'm already doing. Twice a week, we have a 6:30 a.m. class Tuesday and Thursday that I teach, and people come to the class. So we fill it to our max capacity, which is 11 guests. And then members can join online, as well as anyone can just join the live stream for like a single session purchase. So when we opened the studio, I was excited to be all in person. And then I realized, why would I let go of this community that I've been working on since March 17, 2020, which led us to open this December of 2021. I was like, I can't let go of that. So it kind of forced my hand, and we built out the technology that allows us to stream the classes here.
That's great.
Do you think you would have done that if COVID didn't happen as part of your business plan
No.
to do the virtual piece?
No, I am the least technologically savvy person on the planet. And now that's a joke now because obviously I'm tech savvy because of my business, but it forced my hand. I hated it. It was the biggest pain point early on in my business before I had a website when I was using Google Contacts. I was emailing people. I was Zooming everyone the link. And there was always problems, right? Because technology, while we love it and rely on it, it has its hiccups. So no, I never imagined streaming the classes, but now it's crazy. I can't imagine not giving my clientele the option to stream from wherever they are, because quite frankly, in the winter months, people just don't want to come into a studio in the freezing cold, in the snow, digging out their car. So the stream is like, you don't have to.
Yeah. So I want to go back to, obviously you're doing everything online, and then you opened your studio January 1st, 2021. What was that like? Was it a struggle in the beginning from people still being about the whole COVID thing, or what were those initial weeks or months like?
So the pace of growing my business, I've realized, was my biggest success. Is that it's not how I thought I wanted to do it. I'm like, next, hurry. And what I quickly realized was that my slow burn is what made the business successful at this point. We were on Zoom from March of 2020 all the way until our doors open. At that point, people were itching to find community. The big thing for us that separated my live stream from other live streams that were going on at the time, especially during the pandemic, was I started each class with a coffee chat. So let's say class started at 6:45. I opened up Zoom at 6:30, and 30 women from all over. We were talking about Bravo. We were comparing sneakers we bought. We were talking shit, and it really created this, oh, I remember you, this familiarity, which I think is what is the most important thing about a fitness class. It instantly takes out that intimidation and anxiety I talked about earlier with our method. But having that coffee chat really helped that burn and helped build us to the point where when we opened, I soft opened. So December 17th of 2021, I also kept the studio a complete secret from my entire community. So while we were building out this studio, I was streaming live from my old studio, which was just a room in my apartment, and nobody knew. The reason being, I wanted no opinions. I wanted no, we should do this. I wanted to just be here it is, come or don't come. And so when we opened the studio, people were so shocked that they couldn't wait to come in. I'm also really specific about curating not only my community and the vibe here, but an aesthetic. We're a predominantly woman. We're 91% women here. So I know what the bathrooms need. I know what people want to hold. I know what the gear, what they want to wear. So keeping in mind only my target demographic, it was very easy to reel everyone in. So we opened, and then, oh my gosh, forgive me, I forget the variant that Omicron was then the big
one of the 20
thing. And I was like, oh my fucking God, what are we going to do? And we were nothing. People, everybody was so excited because they felt a part of the studio. Because I'm very transparent, without my original online business and all of those people and all the income that it created, this wouldn't be here. So I always say that to my people, where we are now, the OG people that rode with us online, they built this. So everybody couldn't wait to be here and do it. So the early weeks, I remember there were hiccups, are you vaccinating? Things like that. Yeah, we required a vaccine. We limited classes to only 8 people. And that was really the thing that allowed the gyms to open up, because we were small. And now we fill it to capacity, which for us is 12. But early on, it was okay, 8 people, arms width distance.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny that you blacked that out too? I couldn't really tell you what was hard. I just blacked it out and kept going.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, what were some of those early challenges for you though? Early, whether that was, was it just your first time running a business? Was it, trying to obviously it sounds like you had the community aspect down, you had people that wanted your product. They wanted to be a part of your business. So what were the early challenges that you faced?
I think the first one is building a team. And that continues to be a challenge. I've gotten much better at it now. The hardest thing about being like a boss is that I have to step away more from my own experience in the class and my own class and really invest more in my instructors' classes. Be that feedback, attention, accountability, as well as just like investing physically. I like my people to be taken care of. And I think that my instructors are extremely happy and extremely well fed, and that keeps it going. But that was really hard for me because I did go through a couple instructors where I'm like, fuck, that didn't work out, or I wish I thought about that, or so yeah, always building a team and investing in the team is big, because the other thing in fitness that a lot of people don't realize is like training instructors, it takes a lot of time. Now, that's not true for every studio, but for my instructors who teach here, like it's a grueling training. Like I need you to know everything about the spine. If somebody comes in and tells you something, you know it because you're a together instructor and there's not a doubt in your mind if somebody tells you they hurt their C3, like you got it, you know what's up. And that's a testament of our training and our manual. But so a pain point is that my schedule is like completely overpowered anytime I'm training new instructors. So I'm training 2 new instructors right now, and we train Friday nights and Sundays. And those used to be my days off. So while it's temporary, that's a challenge. But to be honest, my husband, James, he left his corporate job in 2021 when the studio was picking up, and really helped and took over the slack. Because like accounting, expenses, all that type of shit, I was just able to be like, here you go, figure this out. And he was able to like streamline the business that way, get us an accountant, have us moving in the right direction. Because that's the hardest part about being like a small business owner is you wear every hat.
Yeah. Because you have to early on. Yeah. I think there's no one else to fall back on.
No.
And when you think about the training and building a team, is there that much more difficult because of your methodology of crushing one side and moving to another, where like you can't just walk in the door, be good at Pilates, I'm assuming, and be a contributing part of your team right out the box?
Yeah, I think that my answer is in 2 parts. One, we just have a specific style of speaking. And it sounds funny, but when I train instructors, it's like I teach them as if they're learning English for the first time. Because there's nothing worse than talking for talking's sake, unless you're telling a joke and lightening the mood in a class. But I don't know if you've ever been in a class experience and all you hear is this, and then I'm going to do this, and it's like, what the fuck did you just say? So our biggest thing is like we lead with an anatomical direction and a physical action. So it's like step your right foot to the top of the mat, reach your left leg to the back of the mat, pause. So when you're in our class, it's very like you're building a recipe. So learning to speak like that, especially if you've taught somewhere else, I have to like break you. I'm like, stop. The number one thing that the call out that a lot of people feel is like, I'll type when I'm working with new instructors, they'll teach a class and I'll type the entire class up. And then I'll give it back to them. And half the time it's hysterical because they're like, oh, I can't believe I say we're gonna that many times. And I go, I know, I can't believe you said it 37 times either. We're gonna never say it again. So yeah, my training is no joke, but it's because I don't just hire someone for the sake of hiring someone. I hire someone because I'm like, okay, you ride with me, I'll ride with you. I'm gonna make you the best instructor you've ever been, whether you teach with me or you teach somewhere else. So the training is grueling in that way, but it's also like, it's not just teaching like a boot camp class, right? Like you take a boot camp class somewhere and it's like squat jumps, move over to the next station, do this. It's really form driven. And Pilates is one of those experiences where if you're not in the right form by like a centimeter, you're not doing it. Like I would love to have you two come in. We should do that.
Totally.
I love working with men. I actually work with a lot of male athletes. I can't say who and I can't say what teams. And the biggest thing is that mobility and like range of motion. And that's something really fun that you only know about if you went through the proper training to teach it.
We'll line it up.
Yeah,
I can promise you this guy's mobility is garbage.
If there's like a percentile for mobility, I'm probably bottom 5% for all humans.
Listen, you're probably very strong, but you're not very long.
Yeah.
Like we can build muscles like this, but the Pilates philosophy is that like you build muscles, then you pull them apart.
Yeah, I would probably get destroyed in a class, but let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Maybe we'll live stream it.
Yeah, it would be funny. One thing I wanted to ask about when you're recruiting instructors, obviously you could tell you're very, type A personality. You have a certain way that I'm sure that you run your classes. Obviously you have a strict regiment when it comes to, your philosophy, the way, you want things to be said, the way you want people to be coached. How do you go about, picking the kind of trainers that you feel align with, your vision and your company's vision? And, how hard is it to find those people? Because, naturally there's not going to be many people that have, your experience, your background, and, have all these attributes that you have built the brand off.
Yeah, but that's what I want. I would love to train someone who knows nothing. It's my favorite person to train. Especially because that person looks to you as like, I by no means am the be all end all answers. Like sometimes an instructor will ask me something, I'll be like, let me get back to you on that. But training, it becomes hard when I explained earlier when you have to like break bad habits. But for me, it's all about personality. If you can talk to 12 people that you've never met before and feel confident doing that, then I'm happy to guide you through my training and my curriculum. Because people forget that, like, while somebody online may know and definitely knows way more than me and has way more hours studying and certs than me, I'm better at delivering it and I'm better at hosting the experience. And that's at the end of the day where I am driving income by doing that. And maybe somebody else isn't really able to build a community or do, get to that next step. So for me, when I look for an instructor, I remind them that it's just hosting. I'm like, have you ever been on a plane? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, do you know the flight attendant? Like, yeah. I'm like, that's basically you. I was like, you will know everything about the body and it will be really cool, but your job is to just guide people, make them feel comfortable, make them feel safe, and be able to talk to like a 65-year-old woman in one corner of the room and like a 24-year-old woman in the other corner of the room. That's really the type of instructor I look for. It's personality. I can teach you all the tricks in the world. So I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about like, how are you at the front desk? And I call it desk side manner, right? Same thing as a doctor. You've been with a doctor who said shit bedside manner. I've been in a studio where the front desk, I'm like, fuck, I'm never coming back here. That girl was an asshole. We don't hire people like that.
It's interesting. And, the only other thing I really wanted to ask about is, now that you have the studio up and running, obviously things sound like they've been extremely successful. What is the plan as far as, how are you going to go about, scaling, continuing to grow? Like, is the aspiration to open up more of them, to have different locations? What's the thought process there?
Yeah, it's my like biggest pain point and my like number one pursuit. Yeah, we're going to have way more studios. But like I said earlier, is that I have to take the like spotlight off of me a little bit more and be like, hey, these other instructors are amazing. I've worked so hard to train them. I need you all to experience their classes as well. I think when you've come up with something on your own, the hardest thing at the first year was everybody wanted to take my class. And being able to say, okay, well, that's amazing. And sure, I've worked 11 years to do that. A business where you just want to take my class has no legs. Like, that's it. I'm only one person. I can't grow from that. So taking the time and looking at where we are now in our business and the team we have now, like, yeah, people are pumped to get in their classes as well. And the nice thing about fitness is there's actually like data. Like, we see how many people are in your class. We see the success of your class at night versus when you're on the schedule in the morning. And data doesn't lie. And what's interesting is when I originally opened the doors here, I didn't want to teach people my method. I was really scared to do it because it's hard to do. I've taught in my career people other gyms methods. Like I've taught, learned a manual and taught it to a million other people. But for me, it was like really this vulnerable thing to be like, okay, no. I know what I'm talking about. I have a good idea. I have written the manual to prove it. Now I need to teach it to other people. Because when I first opened the studio, I taught what I taught and I hired 2 other instructors that I was like, hey, you all had like somewhat of a COVID following, teach what you want to teach. And if there's one thing I've learned in business, it's that your community tells you what they want. And the community told me that they wanted this style class, and it forced me to take the time, build the manual, train the people. And now everybody teaches that style class. But that's not what I had always thought. But it quickly, the writing on the wall showed up and I was like, okay, let's keep moving with what our community wants.
Yeah.
But yeah, more studios and locations. Yeah, that's huge. That's why we're constantly hiring and constantly looking around. But I can't give away all my secrets.
Yep, none taken. Was there ever a time, over the past 3 years, whether it was even, just early on, was there ever a time where you thought to yourself, you obviously, you seem extremely confident, you believe in your product, you know what you're doing. Was there ever a time where you felt like, I don't know if this is going to work out? Or was it always like we got this?
Like every Friday at 3:00. Like it happens all the time. And my husband is my sounding board, and he's my one who's like, calm down. I think that all great small business owners are perfectionists, and that's how it starts small. But you have to be able to release some reins on things and give other people jobs. So that's always my work, and being like, here, you manage that. One of the best decisions I made, besides bringing my husband on full time, is I've sought out like social media help. And one of my instructors is really good at it and approached me about it. And I was like, great, let's come up with a rate. I'll add it to your income, and let's move on and take that over. So yeah, I have freakouts once a week. But I think that that's because I'm really passionate and I like want so much for the studio. And truly, it's just my freakouts come from having too many balls in the air at once. We're leading retreats in Costa Rica. We have the studio here. I have events that we're constantly involved in with big brands. So it's just constantly like, calm down, one thing at a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think most people have them every week.
Yeah. There's not a week that goes by where I'm not standing at the house, at the kitchen, at the island. I'm just like talking to myself. I'm like, shit, I forgot to do it. My wife's like, what? I'm like, don't worry about it. I gotta go do something tonight.
Yeah.
I go on vacation, and literally, I also think that's like the key to my success too, is I do make time to turn off. But when I turn off, let me tell you, my notes section on my iPhone, I'll wake up and be like, oh my God, how did I forget that? So I just always am keeping a running note of like my punch list, as I call it, in my phone.
Yeah, we have a running joke too. Whenever we're having like a really, really good day, a really good week, we're so due for something awful to happen today.
Yeah, literally every time I'm riding high, like somebody quits something, I'm like, oh my God, whatever.
Yeah. So, okay, let's get to a couple questions here we have on the financial side. We like to ask everyone. So, as far as, whether it's on the business side or the personal side, we always like to ask everyone, what's the best and worst money move you've made? So, for yourself, what's one of the best money moves you've made to this point in your life?
The best money move I made is investing, I think, in our like high-end streaming equipment. It was not something like I originally wanted to do. When I brought on a guy we work closely with, we call him our tech guy, and he gave me the numbers, and I was like, what? And then he's like, you'll pay all this once. So we have two really high-end cameras in our studio, and we actually use OBS, which a lot of people use for podcasts. And that's how we do our live stream. So we stream through OBS, through Vimeo and Zoom all at once. And what's really cool and separates us from anyone else's live stream are those cameras and those dual views. So have you ever taken like an online class and you're like, well, what is that instructor doing? You're only looking at the instructor from this view. We have an overhead camera. And in Pilates, that's like really important to see somebody from a tabletop, somebody from side. So doing that, like I remember getting the bill for that and wanting to puke. And then that just goes away. What's so funny about obviously finances and any business is like, I hate this saying, and I'm sure somebody said this, but my dad drills this into me and it sucks. In order to make money, you have to spend money. So every time my husband tells me what we spent in a month, I'm like, why did we do that? And it always, knock on wood, comes back when you put it in the right place. A bad money move? Honestly, I haven't. With as many checkpoints as I have in my life, like I have my husband, I'm very close with my dad, and he's an attorney. Like nobody lets me make dumb choices. I'm just going to be honest. I do a lot of checkpoints.
That's a great thing.
I know that when I originally wanted to open a studio, like I thought I was opening the Taj Mahal, and quickly I realized like I wasn't doing that. So like the equipment wall on the back, like we're fully sponsored, which is really nice. But my husband built that. I saw it on Etsy and I was like, this is what we want. This is $10,000. And he's like, okay, I'll just do it. So yeah, it is funny. I do look like I'm the boss, but I have a lot of people checking my ass all the time. Brothers, family members. Yeah.
That's important though, right? Everyone needs help to succeed.
And I think just in our experience, whether it's financially or just career, like the more positive influences that you have in your life and the more experience that you have surrounding you, it just makes you, it's not gonna make you successful, but it's gonna make your path easier because it can just keep you on track.
And it will make you miserable too, because you'll be like, oh my God, like what I remember in 2018 when I had this ideology for this class. I was teaching it here or there at Lululemon, doing pop-ups. I still was on the schedule at all the other big studios I work for, but I was secretly behind closed doors starting this other method. And I remember in the early stages when I had that meeting with our realtor friend and I was getting involved in that, I was like, we'll do this and we'll do this. And my dad was like, no, you won't. Like, we stop. It's one small thing at a time. And that's probably the advice I give most of people now is that you dream big, but you have to do. So your dream is so big. And my dream for where this will be in 5 years looks nothing like it is today, but it's the little things over time that add up.
Yep. We like to say micro actions compound. It's one of our phrases.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
All right. So last thing here, words of wisdom for young entrepreneurs, or you had to go back and talk to, Kate 5 years ago. What's one piece of advice you'd give her or anyone that's in that position?
I can think of a couple things. Most important would be find a mentor or align yourself with a boss or a leader that you love and respect. I've had many mentors over the last 10 years. Many of them have really pushed me and my business, and I look to them often. I'll be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or I see what they're doing and it inspires me. But even more so, if you laser focus it on a fitness career, it'd be go to a studio that you love and work for someone there. In business, find a CEO you love and work for that person and show that person how much you love and respect them, because I feed the most to my instructors who reach out to me the most. And then I would say, we talked about the dream big, but do something small. And then calm down. I think that it's so funny. Probably in the last 3 years, a lot of people have connected with me. Hey, can we hop on a call? Hey, I'd love to chat you about this. I always make time for it. And at the end of every call, I just sit and I'm like, oh God, to be that, what's the word? Where it's you just have these dreams. I'm without lack of a better word, I'm to be that fucking dumb. I love that. So amazing. I'm I wish I could think like that in the nicest possible way. I'm saying that. I'm oh my God, bless her heart. That's a great idea. But it literally took the only reason when a lot of people are well, how did you do it? It was 10 years of sweat equity. That's it. It was 10 years of busting my back in Philly, teaching places I didn't even believe in or want to teach at, but it was because I knew it would help build my community. Because if there's one thing I do, even now in my class today, it's I don't let anyone leave without connecting with them. And I think that interpersonal connections and building a Rolodex of people, another little tip is will carry you through. Because if I need something, I'm wait, who do I know? Or if somebody else needs someone, I'm wait, who can I connect her with? I think that web really will help carry you.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic advice. Well, this has been great. I mean, any other questions, Ryan?
No, I do, but I think it's off topic a little bit. But coming back to the money side and good financial moves, just kind of circle back. You mentioned hey, your whole wall sponsored and you're doing that. So how much stuff, something that we think about all the time is okay, here's our core offering, right? That we've done so well with, but what are those ancillary things that have been really good moves for your business to build off of the core offering that you do? Hey, instead of buying your stuff, how can you get sponsored, or just other creative things to put more money in the pot and then to allow you to reinvest back in your business?
That's a great question. And it comes from that web. So I have women who work all over the city in many different businesses and industries. And one of my friends and clients is you need to be tagging shit on Instagram. You need to be more people you're a micro influencer. And I laugh. I'm I'm not an influencer. She's you're an influencer. I'm okay, I'm an influencer. So reaching out those cold emails that I thought would be the most painful thing in my entire life are actually really easy. So getting involved and doing events though allow me to do that. So I think about it as okay, what is our scope of business, and how many people have eyes on something that we're doing? Once I come up with that, we did this cool thing called the shore tour this summer. We went to 2 different beach towns and hosted this outdoor workout on the beach, which cost a decent amount of money. But I did it with the guise of, this is marketing and this is going to be so many eyes on the studio. And I can literally look at those events and then look at our subscribers and see the actual adjustment and how we grew from it. But I had these big events. I was like, look, I have this many followers on my Instagram. I have this many followers on our studio Instagram. We have this many clients. We're hosting workouts on these 2 dates. Are you guys interested in sponsoring us? So I reached out to like a lot of fitness brands. I kind of cashed in on a lot of favors, and then hosted this really big event series where we sold out in 2 days, and we had like 60 people in the one event on the beach and close to 70 people in the other event on the beach just come work out for $40 and get like a sick swag bag.
That's awesome.
So I'm always doing things in the community, and like I'm teaching at Lululemon tomorrow night for a chapter of young women at Drexel. I'm always trying to like get involved in small ways like that. Because I think eyes everywhere is my best policy. So unfortunately, and I think this is true, I mean, I'm only in this January will be year 2 of the business as we see it right now, excluding the complete virtual business. And I'm still in my yes phase. Yes. There are plenty of no's, but yeah, I think still saying yes is really important.
Absolutely love it. Well, I mean, it's obviously a testament to what you built so far. And then if you do have a great offering like you do and the community behind you, success is almost like all a byproduct of everything else.
Yeah. And I think too, like as I touched on earlier, like our demographic and my like cookie cutter client, while everybody comes from different backgrounds, has different jobs, looks different, sounds different, like at our core, we're all the same. Mm-hmm. We're women ages 24 to 65 who like to work out, who will spend extra to put kale in their smoothies, and like to talk shit with a group of other women. Like at our core, we're like very similar, and that makes marketing and makes creating events and the retreat series we have coming up in January. It's become so easy because I'm doing it for me, and then my client is so like-minded to me that it's like we all like similar things. It becomes hard when you try to connect. I remember when we first opened, my husband was an athlete as well. And I was like, we're going to do Pilates for men. And then I was just like, sure. Like when they come, it's awesome. And I have an amazing male instructor who teaches, but I kind of quickly was like, I don't need that. I'm going to just focus on this person and put all my energy into this person. And if the other people come, cool.
Yeah. It's really well done. All right.
Thanks.
This is awesome.
That's what I got, man.
If people want to get in touch with you, find you, where can they find you on social, all that good stuff?
So the studio's Instagram is Together Old City, at Together Old City. My Instagram is at Band Together by Kate. And our website is www.togetheroldcity.com. There's a message contact page there, but DM, email, phone, Google, we're everywhere.
Awesome.
TikTok, if you like TikTok, Together Old City.
We actually just we're on TikTok now, but we only just go in to post stuff, so we're not actually on there yet. We don't know any of the trends.
Need to be. Nor do I, but you hire the right people. You need to be ticking and talking. I'm not doing it, but we're doing it.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, Kate. Really appreciate it. I think people are going to really like this one.
Thank you.